Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. Today for 1 hour we gained access to the new farm social space that will be the primary social space for Destiny 2. As of right now we don't have any news on whether or not we're going to have access to other social spaces, but in this video we're going to see that the farm seems to have all of the amenities that we're used to seeing in the tower, including, for better or worse, the return of the Eververse trading company. So let's jump in and take a closer look. So right as I spawned in, I was surprised on how quiet the farm was, but then I quickly realized it was a beta test and all of the vendors are currently turned off. And sadly, that does include all other characters that would be occupying the space, and also sadly, no chickens to be found anywhere. But we were at least able to get a really good feel for the size and scale of the farm. Now, there seems to be two major sections. One here by the fountain, which is more about item management and inventory, and then we have the hangar to the right side of the space, which will most likely house the mentors, the gunsmith, and even a spot outside where it looks like Lord Shaxx may be posting up. There is also a very curious building to the left which has some limited access. The first back half of the building is not accessible, but then we have a front half of it that is, and it features a couple really interesting rooms with a bunch of technology. And my guess is this is where you're going to see some perhaps auxiliary NPCs, maybe some extra vendors selling mods and maybe shaders. Eva Levante or someone similar to her might be posted up in this area. Otherwise, it's really tough to kind of pinpoint what the purpose of this building is. Although I did find it a bit odd that they had open doorways that you couldn't get through, so this might be spaces that eventually open up later on during things like special events. And Bungie did also mention that this space is going to evolve over time, so perhaps this is going to be something that opens up maybe after they sort of quote-unquote clear the debris out. But anyways, right from spawn, I really like that the Postmaster is the closest thing to you, since it's probably going to be the first things you visit. And just beyond that, luckily very close by, is where you can manage your inventory with things like the Cryptarch. Sadly, Tyra Karn was not present in this test, but this is going to be where she posts up to decrypt your engrams that you find during your activities. Behind that, we see a couple terminals which look like they're going to be access to your vault. Now, sadly, we were not able to interact with the kiosks, so we still don't know how big the vault space is, so it looks like we're going to have to wait for a future reveal to learn that information. Also, in this little area, whether you like it or not, you can find a tent for the Eververse trading company. Yes, it seems like Tess Everest may have survived the tower attack, and she is posted up here at the farm. Now, of course, we don't have confirmation on whether or not it's going to be Tess herself, but it's a pretty strong chance. Either way, this does confirm that microtransactions seem to be in place for launch. I personally am not against microtransactions as long as they remain cosmetic, but I really hope we do get more creative things added in. I think this would be an excellent outlet for shaders. I feel like that was a missed opportunity in Destiny 1. I think one of the most cosmetic things you can get is a shader, so maybe you can buy extra shaders here, since now every piece of armor or weapon has the ability to take a shader. And that is assuming that you need multiple copies of the same shader to fill different slots of your armor. But anyways, moving on to the right hand side, we have the hangar, and it looks like there's a lot of really interesting spaces here. On the left side of the first level, we see a very curious section that might be where the gunsmith posts up. We also have a little office space in the back. If we get a shipwright, this is where they'll probably be. We have an area upstairs which doesn't look like it has much going on, maybe somewhere where mentors might post up. And generally a lot of really interesting nooks and crannies which looks like they're going to be able to fill with future vendors and future NPCs. Aside from that, we have a really interesting area behind the first building. There's some crates here with the Dead Orbit logo, so this might be where we see some Dead Orbit NPCs. We might see the return of Arak Jalal in this area, but we don't see anything else for New Monarchy or Future War Cult throughout the space, so it's really hard to say. Moving on to the final and probably most important feature of the farm social space is this soccer field. Yes, you can pass time here by playing soccer, and it's pretty fun. But I do have to say that the ball physics leave something to be desired. This isn't FIFA after all, and it's just really something to add a little bit of character to the space. Aside from that, there's a lot of really deep wooded areas past the soccer field. I was actually kind of surprised with how far away from the farm I could get. There's also a couple hilltops you can get to get some better views. You could also explore the roofs for these buildings and walk across the wires if you wanted to. but it doesn't seem like these spaces are really going to be utilized for anything. But anyways, that kind of wraps up the Farm Social Space preview. That hour was just a test for them to see how well the matchmaking could work with 26 players. They got some error codes, and I'm really glad that they were able to see that stuff so they can hopefully address it before launch. And in addition to that, in a surprising turn of events, the beta is actually extended through Tuesday the 25th. I'm not entirely sure if it's because of the farm testing they did, but they do want to run some more vigorous testing on the servers, and with that, Bungie has warned us that we might experience being kicked to orbit a little bit more often during Monday and Tuesday's testing, but I'm all for it if I get to play the game a little bit longer and if they get to work out all of the kinks for logging in and matchmaking before launch. Anyways, let me know what your first impressions are on the Farm Social Space. Of course, we don't have the entire thing here, but let me know what you think anyways in the comments below. I'm generally a pretty big fan of this space so far. I like how peaceful it is, and I love that I can sort of unwind by the fire after maybe an intense raiding session, but I'd love to know what you think. This is going to be a very interesting week ahead of us. This is IGN's last week with the IGN First Series for Destiny 2, and there's a lot more reveals planned throughout the week, so be sure to subscribe to the channel as I will be breaking down all of the news as it goes live. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.